You're listening to 3 Days Through the Wood, a novel by Bear Mawasagi, as read by the author. Chapter 9. The Temptations of Mr. Scratch. Music bounded through the town as booming brass bands blasted their various shapes of noise through the air. The townfolk bobbled their heads and stepped in rhythm as they walked the streets in aimless parade. Spirits were raised the town over, and everyone cheered along with the highs and lows of the music as they set to their tasks. It seemed everyone was busy with something or other, even if it was just relaxing. Folk were setting up tall tents out in the fields and at long tables, and Pill heard whisperings that this was to be where they would all feast in the evening. It was a harvest festival after all, and so tonight they would share in the bounty sowed throughout the year. For all the folk who showed up to town, however, still streaming in droves from the depths of the surrounding forest, they still had yet to find Chirp's mother. "I don't smell her anywhere," said Chirp, trailing after a shocked-looking woman with his nose high in the air. "Sorry," Pill said to her as he pulled the boy back. "What about your eyes? Do those still work? What does she look like?" "She looks like me," said Chirp. "Just like you, that's it?" "Yep." Pill nodded, trying to be patient. "And you can't think of anything that distinguishes her?" Chirp bit his lip and chewed at it. This seemed to be his new thinking face. "She's taller," he said, "but short, and her hair is like mine." "In color or style?" "Both," said Chirp, "but hers is different." Pill sighed. "Different how?" "It's longer, and she makes it look different." "Just keep your eyes open, okay? Let me know if you spot her somewhere. And stop smelling people. It's weird." They were wandering further and further from Mama Marie's place in the town center, walking until the streets of stone and wood buildings began to turn into tents of colorful canvas. The paths narrowed, funneling the onlookers so closely together that Pill had to hold tight to Chirp's hand just to keep from losing him. Chirp was loving it. He narrated the many things he saw for Pill's benefit, pointing at the vendors setting up their many stalls of knickknacks and trinkets and crafts. Rows and rows of identical stuffed animals were set on display on high shelves, with the largest being held so high that it was impossible for anyone passing to miss them, even through the throng of people. This was to tempt passerby into trying to win them, of course, because Pill and Chirp had wandered into the games alley. Pill recognized several of the attractions. Half-deflated balloons hung limply against a wall where children tried to pop them with blunted darts. Clown mouths hung agape in a disturbingly eager grin, drowned by children with pressurized water pistols. There were bacteria pools half-filled with the slobber of bobbing children searching for apples. Chirp narrated it much more favorably, of course. He looked eager to play at all the stalls and stands. Pill, however, suspected he had never been much for fairs and games. "Come one, come all, and delight in the wandering frivolities of Mr. Scratch and his traveling troupe," said a tall man standing high over the crowd. His face was painted like a dog, and he wore striped pants with a bright purple jacket. Pill might have thought he was a clown if his suit wasn't otherwise so formal-looking. From the tall top hat he wore and his demeanor with the passing children, Pill instead placed him as the carnival barker. "Hungry? Try the food. You can't go wrong with fry bread and bacon. Trust me on that one, folks. Just head around the corner there and look for the orange tent. Tell the cooks I sent you. Eager to try your luck? Try one of our many games. Fabulous prizes are waiting to be won by the skilled and lucky, so why not find out which you are? Everyone walks away with something, even if it's just a happy memory." Pill practically had to hold Chirp by the collar to keep him from running off. Other children were racing through the tents as well, hands filled with tickets to redeem for the games. "We're not here to play, Chirp. We're here to find your mom." "But what if she's in the Hall of Mirrors?" "Just because she looks like you doesn't mean you'll find her in your reflection," said Pill. "But only one of them has to be her." Pill couldn't argue with that, and he didn't bother to try. Pretty soon, Chirp was convinced his mom would be waiting at the corn dog stand instead, or thought she might be getting cotton candy or a snow cone. Maybe she wanted to have her weight guessed. Pill sincerely doubted this. Or she was out to test her might at the sledgehammer game. While they didn't spot her passing any of these attractions, Pill did get a small rush of satisfaction when the strong man from Mama Marie's took up a large hammer with a single hand and brought it crashing down with the force of a thunderclap. The bell up top rang victory clear for all to hear, letting them know it was at least possible to win at some of the games, even if it might require near superhuman strength. The strong man still felt cheated, however, for not having broken the bell with his sheer might. I don't see her in any of these, said Chirp, head spinning in rhythm with the children riding some nearby teacups. I can't see good enough. Maybe we should get in line. Chirp, we're not riding any rides, said Pill. We're looking for your mom. Besides, we don't have any tickets. Maybe we could ask for some. Ask who? They don't normally just give things away at these kind of places. You never know unless you ask, said Chirp. He tugged at the dress of a nearby woman. Pill could have died of embarrassment. Excuse me, ma'am, Chirp said, his eyes shining extra bright. Do you have any spare tickets? Pill was sinking into the ground, trying not to be noticed. The woman, small and frail and wide-eyed, took notice of Chirp as if she had just become aware that anyone else existed at all. I'm sorry? She said distantly. Tickets, said Chirp. I want to find my mom at the games, but I don't have any tickets. Do you have some? Tickets? The woman repeated, still in a trance. Oh, yes, sure. She reached into a large floral print purse and pulled out 2 tickets. I don't need them. They were for someone else, but I don't think they're here. Thank you, said Chirp, who snatched up the tickets and started marching to a nearby booth. Pill was inclined to linger, however. Part of him wanted to know what was happening with the bewildered and lost-looking woman, while the other part of him wanted to help her. Her eyes darted among the faces in the crowd, stopping on his only for a moment and searching for something before moving on. Chirp, just wait a second, Pill called. Excuse me, ma'am? Are you all right? She'll be fine, said another, deeper voice behind him. Pill looked up to the looming shadow at his shoulder and saw a dog staring him in the face. He yelped. Sorry, said the barker. Didn't mean to startle you. Ma'am, would you like to come with me? Perhaps we could sit for a moment. I can help you find who you're looking for. A seat? Yes, that would be nice, thank you, said the small woman. She looked again at Pill, searching him for that same something, and then moved on. The barker led her from the crowd. Come on, Pill, we can play the games now. Chirp was tugging on his fleece. He waved the tickets high. Of course, since they only had 2, he needed to weigh the entire fare very carefully. A ticket was good for a ride, they learned, and 2 were good for a game. Pill supposed this was to offset the risk of anyone actually winning something, as unlikely as that seemed. For all the children he saw roaming through the dirt alleys in packs, few of them carried any prizes. Chirp seemed convinced he could beat the odds, however, after Pill stressed that he absolutely did not want to ride any of the rickety-looking rides. I guess both tickets are for me, then, Chirp decided. Sure, said Pill. Just pick something so we can get back to looking for your mom, okay? Said Chirp, very loud and deliberate. He tapped his finger to his chin, eyes narrowed at the stalls. Pill realized he was looking at all the prizes on display, his eyes venturing higher and higher. They settled on a large red fox. I want that one, he said. The game was a simple one. Pill knew it quite well. Empty milk bottles were stacked into a small pyramid, one on top of the other, at the far end of a long and narrow booth. The games master, a lean man with a face like a rat, widened his grin in anticipation of prey. You there, he looked, calling at Chirp. You look like you got a good strong arm. Care to take a chance on a little game? Yes, said Chirp, walking to the booth with stern determination. I want the fox. The rat man's eyes widened in feigned surprise. Really, not many dare to dream that big, he said in practiced spiel. But I like the look of you, so I'll tell you the rules. You see those milk bottles down there, just at the end of the tent? All you need to do to win that fox is knock 'em down. Got it, said Chirp, starting to climb over the booth. Pill pulled him back. Slow your roll there, little fella, the rat man said, holding his arms wide. This isn't just some walk-on up and kick the bottles over sort of game. Anyone could do that. No, see, what you need here are these 3 baseballs. He held 3 balls in one hand between his fingers. You knock those bottles down with these, and you can pick yourself any prize you want on that wall. He gestured over to the smallest of the shelves, where a long row of identical animals of indeterminate species were displayed. Pill thought they looked somewhere between a duck and a rhino. How do I get the fox? Chirp asked. Well, the rat man mused. Say you managed to knock those bottles down on the first try. Pretty easy, right? Well, I set 'em back up, and you try to knock 'em down again for a shot at a bigger prize. And then I get the fox. No, the rat man stressed. That fox up there is real special to me, see, and I won't let her go for just anyone. You gotta prove you're tough enough to care for her. I can do it, Chirp thumped his chest. I'm tough. Well, let's see you prove it, the Rat Man said, smiling deviously. For those 2 tickets, I'll give you these 3 balls. You knock down those bottles with them 3 times in a row, and you can have your choice of any prize in this booth, even Miss Fox up there. Did you hear that, Pill? I'm going to win Miss Fox. Pill was trying not to bury his face in his hands. He was sure he had heard this sort of pitch before, and suspected he hadn't enjoyed being conned by carnivals back then, either. Well, give it a try, he said, and then we can get out of here, he left unspoken. This wasn't getting them any closer to Chirp's mother or to his own memories. Better to let the boy loose quick and move on. But Chirp looked unsure of himself. It was an uncommon thing to see. Maybe you should do it, he said. You're stronger than me. Chirp, just play the game, said Pill. This is what you wanted. What, are you afraid? Sneered the Rat Man. Pill shot him a look, but kept quiet. I don't know if I can do it, said Chirp, but I know you can. Why do you think I'd be any good at this? Pill asked. Because you can do anything. Chirp set his tickets down on the table. With a swipe of his hand so quick it was almost unseen, the Rat Man replaced them with 3 baseballs. No refunds, he said, stepping back. Chirp stacked the balls in his hand and waddled them over to Pill. Can you do it, please? With a long inhale through his nose, Pill tried to hide his displeasure. The last thing he wanted right now was to be humiliated in front of a con artist, but Chirp was insistent. If it would get them out of here that much faster, then to hell with it. Pill took the balls wordlessly, reared his arm back, and let the first one fly. The bottles all fell down together. That wins you a duckopotamus, said the Rat Man, unimpressed. He pointed to the lowest tier of shelves, where a row of identical stuffed animals that looked like a mishmash of spare pieces were sitting. The Rat Man ducked behind the table and set all the balls back in place. Can you do it again, Hotshot? Pill wasn't actually sure. He hadn't really cared where the ball ended up going the first time. It was just pure luck. But now Chirp was looking at him in awe, his eyes full of hope, and with that hope came the sudden pressure for Pill to succeed. He stepped forward to throw, trying not to overthink it. He thought about how he was trying not to overthink, and how he was overthinking his overthinking. Frustrated with his inability to keep a quiet mind, he reared back and threw. The bottles all plinked down again. Pill thought he saw a flash of concern on the face of the Rat Man. Not bad, kid, he said, his voice slightly off-kilter. But 3's the magic number around here. You feeling lucky? No, Pill thought, but he nodded anyway. The bottles were set in place once again. They looked more imposing this time, and the booth seemed to lengthen before his eyes until it was long as the path he'd took through the forest, with the bottles just barely visible over the horizon. The pressure was getting to him. You can do it, said Chirp. He was leaning over the desk, the tips of his feet just barely clinging to the dirt. Take the shot. Don't overthink it, Pill thought. No fear, no worry. He had come here with nothing, and he already had a prize. If he missed the shot now, there was nothing for him to lose, and so there was nothing for him to worry about. And if there was nothing to worry about, then there was no pressure. But Chirp was looking between him and the bottles and the fox, hopeful and eager. Pill couldn't let him down. Instead, he let loose. The bottles clinked like a porcelain thunderstorm, falling over each other and rolling to the ground one by one. Chirp started to cheer. When the storm subsided, however, a single bottle remained standing. That's too bad, kid, said the Rat Man, moving quickly to gather up the rest. And so close, too. Well, you know what they say, that's just how the cookie crumbles and all that. Wait, said Chirp, who was scrambling over the side of the booth. That one's not the same as the others. What are you talking about? Said the Rat Man, who doubled his pace to collect everything. Now wait just a minute, you can't be back here. Pill tried to reach for Chirp, but the boy was too fast. Like the baseballs before him, he was over the length of the booth in less than a second. The Rat Man went to grab him, and Pill was so angry at the sight of that now he was climbing over the booth as well. Someone in the passerby gasped. Someone else called out in alarm. The river of the crowd stopped its flow to gather and crash against the shores of the booth in shock. Chirp ducked under the Rat Man and grabbed for the last standing bottle. Its weight was immediately obvious in his hands when he fell to the ground trying to carry it. He cheated, Chirp shouted. I never specified how heavy the bottles would be, the Rat Man said automatically. That was an assumption on your part and never overtly stated. I never told a lie or sold a bill of goods. You got 3 chances to knock down my selection of bottles 3 times exactly as promised, and you're still walking away with a prize, but Miss Fox up there is staying with me. It was hard to make out his defense, however, over the sound of Chirp's counter-argument. Cheater! Cheater, cheater, cheater! Is there a problem here? Said the deep voice of the dog man. The barker appeared over the crowd. Something amiss, Featherweight? Nope, just some unhappy boys, said the rat man. Featherweight, apparently. They're still getting their prize. The crowd was growing more dense as passerby continued to gawk. The barker made his way to the front of them all. Folks, friends, I'm afraid we're going to be shutting down this game while we look into a complaint. I'm so sorry for the inconvenience. Please help yourselves to a complimentary treat over at the concession stands while we resolve this issue. That worked to drive off most of them. Those few that remained were quickly separated by a curtain drawn over the front of the booth. Come with me, the barker said more seriously to Pill. Please, he added. Pill stepped behind the booth, not out of obedience to the barker, but to keep Chirp in his sight. He was still lugging the heavy milk bottle out of reach of the rat man. You've been warned about this sort of behavior in the past, Featherweight, the barker growled. I never said anything untrue. Yes, but a lie of omission is still a lie, said the barker, gently taking the bottle from Chirp. Lead painted white. Clever. Sort of thing you've been warned about at length in the past. Boss man said I couldn't fix him down no more, Featherweight argued. He ain't said nothing about no non-standard bottles. Enough, barked the barker. He reached for Miss Fox, perched high atop the other prizes, and handed her to Pill. My judgment of the situation is that you should have won this. Well done. He held up a hand to Featherweight, who looked ready to protest. Please accept this with the apologies of Mr. Scratch and his entire carnival, with the understanding that the situation has been rectified. It's all right, said Pill, handing the fox to Chirp before standing between him and Featherweight protectively. But I'd like to talk to your boss too, if that's all right. Even through his makeup, the dogman paled. You don't want to do that, he said quietly. We've made our apologies. I have amended the misgivings. What more reason could you have to speak with Mr. Scratch? I have my reasons, said Pill. He looked at Chirp, who was happily hugging Miss Fox. Featherweight was oozing away in the dirt, packing his things rapidly into a bag, but he stopped to look back at Pill. You don't want to do that, he said. I don't like you, Pill said to the rat man. He turned to the barker. And I don't like this place. I don't want to play games anymore or be given a free meal to calm me down like you did with that lady. What happened to her anyway? She was here looking for someone. I helped her find him, said the barker flatly. Then maybe your boss can do the same for me. Featherweight laughed. I assure you that is exactly the opposite of what you want to do, the barker warned. Pill made his way to the curtain, careful to keep himself between Chirp and the others. The rat man scurried under the side of the tent when the barker wasn't looking, carrying his hastily loaded bag of things out with him. If that's really what you want then, the barker sighed, I suppose I'll have to show you the way. It didn't take them long to cross the fairgrounds. The barker had a way about him, like a mighty ship at sea parting the waves of the crowd as he set forth, or like a wolf among sheep sending them scattering before him. Pill had to walk quickly to match his heavy stride, and Chirp was practically running. Not that that was new for him, the boy was still looking around at all the games and rides, even as Pill held tightly to his hand. He said he was looking for his mum. That was what they had came here to do, after all, but from his quick glances he determined that she wasn't on the Ferris wheel or visiting with the ponies, and hadn't deemed to stop by the petting zoo. His search across the grounds proved fruitless. The barkers, however, hadn't. He straightened his orange tie and his long purple jacket as they approached, nudging his tall-brimmed hat back and forth so many times that Pill worried it would wear his head down to nothing. Despite the fact that the barker was as tall as any man, the simple red tent at the far end of the ground seemed to tower over him, shrinking him into insignificance. It wasn't ostentatious by any means, or even particularly large, but it had a presence about it that Pill couldn't quite put to words. "Excuse me, sir," said the barker rather timidly. "There's someone out here who wishes to speak with you." The voice from the other side of the veil was harsh and low, like rocks crashing down a hillside and sundering to pieces.
"Send them in."
Chirp looked at Pill uneasily. The barker looked even worse. "This is where I must leave you," he said. I wish you luck. Before Pill could say a word, the barker retreated deep into the crowd, striding over a sea of children. I don't want to go in there, said Chirp, tugging at Pill's hand. Pill tried to walk forward, but the boy dug his feet into the earth. Chirp, it's fine, Pill whispered. I just want to talk to the boss and then we'll leave. Why? Chirp asked, unmoving. I want to make a complaint about the games, said Pill, and then maybe he can put out an announcement or something and we can find your mom. Come on, it'll be fine. No, said Chirp, shaking his head. No, we should go.
My patience is not endless,
said the voice from inside the tent. Its harsh tone crashed against them like an ocean wave, sudden and cold and reverberating with fathomless depth. Chirp pulled his hand free from Pill and took several steps back. Okay, said Pill. It's all right. Just stay over there by the picnic tables, okay? He pointed to a nearby grouping of concession stands. There's plenty of people around, so you'll be fine. Just stay inside of the tent, and I'll come get you when I'm done. Chirp nodded, holding Miss Fox tight, but didn't say a word. All right, said Pill, more for himself than Chirp. Something about the small red tent was starting to eat at his nerves. A feeling in his stomach, something primal and fearful, was warning him not to go in. He put it down to anxiety and swallowed a lump in his throat. It's going to be fine. I'll be right back. The velvet curtain parted like a cold river over his hands as he stepped into the tent of Mr. Scratch. It draped back thickly behind him, cutting off the light of the sun with frightening efficiency. The inside wasn't completely dark, however. Several candles had been lit over a long mahogany table where a fevered hand was busy scratching away with a long black quill at towering stacks of paperwork.
What are you here for?
Asked Mr. Scratch. His face was veiled in shadow.
My permissions are all in order to be here if that's what you're about. The permits have all been filed with the heads of this town and other higher powers. The contracts are written sealed.
He stopped writing.
Or is it something else you require from me?
He asked. His thin, sickly-looking hand retreated from the candlelight and a long, pointed face emerged back into the embers. His eyes were narrow and dark, studying Pill in the red glow. A tongue flicked across his thin, worm-like lips.
Is it assistance you're seeking, perhaps? A favor?
Pill said, trying to summon words, but finding only a scorched, dry throat. I need help finding someone, he croaked.
My barker should have been able to help you in that regard,
said Mr. Scratch, drumming his fingers impatiently in a steady rap over the table.
He wouldn't have escalated such a petty matter to me, but since you're here...
He cleared the table with a quick sweep. His voice turned softer, like the crunching of cold gravel beneath the wheel.
A favor for a favor is how I prefer to deal. Nothing in this world comes free, you know, no matter how desperately we might wish otherwise. Whatever it is you've come to me for, I could give it to you, but I always require something first in exchange.
I don't have much in the way of money, said Pill, searching his empty pockets, or much of anything to give, really.
You have more to give than you know,
said Mr. Scratch.
And I am in need of many things, but money is not one of them. My carnival may be lacking roots, but it has blossomed fruitfully regardless. I'm set in the way of worldly possessions. Besides, we're approaching this the wrong way. Tell me what it is you desire, young man, and I will be the one to name the price.
I told you, said Pill. I need help finding someone.
Yes, you said that already,
said Mr. Scratch.
A trivial matter, and not why you're truly here.
He drummed his fingers across the table, deep in thought for a moment.
Making an announcement over the grounds will do you little good. The boy's mother waits for him over the river. It costs me nothing to tell you that.
Pill took a step back from the table in shock. How did you know all that? He asked.
You don't live as long as I have without acquiring knowledge on many things, Pill,
said Mr. Scratch.
But you've come to me for something else, haven't you? A question you need answered, or perhaps escape from an answer you've already begun to question.
You know who I am, said Pill. The words were barely a whisper.
Yes,
said Mr. Scratch.
And yet you don't. Have you wondered why that is?
Of course I have, said Pill. I can't think about anything else. I've been wondering about it since I woke up in the forest. Who are you? How do you know me? How do you know who I am?" Mr. Scratch scoffed.
Is that why you're here, to ask me your name? I thought you came all this way to escape it.
The shadows of Pill's memories were swirling in his mind, dancing in the dark shadows of the tent, waiting for him to see them clearly. He didn't know how Mr. Scratch knew who he was, and suddenly it didn't seem to matter all that much. Another question was consuming him. Did Pill really want to remember? Had his hand been desperately grasping for the shadow of his memories all this time, or had he been trying to drive them away? "Why wouldn't I want to remember?" Pill asked.
I could tell you,
said Mr. Scratch.
but that would bring you right back to where you started, wouldn't it? A conundrum, isn't it? That's a knot only you could untie. I could give you back what you took from yourself, but I'm not interested in that. What I can offer is what you came here for.
What did he come here for? Pill wondered. Why had he woken up alone in the woods? I came here to help Chirp, Pill decided. And now that I know where his mother is, I'll be on my way. Thank you for your help, sir. Despite his declaration, however, his legs refused to move. Mr. Scratch smiled, and when he did, it was entirely without joy or mirth or goodness.
You feel the weight of it, can't you?
He said.
Don't you feel your burdens grow heavier the further you carry them? I'll share with you this. If I were to lose such a weight, I wouldn't go scurrying to find it again. What I offer you is release from obligation and the weight of expectation. I offer you a position within my carnival, and with it, a promise of escape.
Pill could feel sweat starting to bead down his face, his arms. It was too warm in here, with the fires burning beneath the noonday sun and the heavy curtains trapping the smoke and fumes, but he was cold as well. His hand was numb, inflexible. His skin was goose flesh and his hairs were standing on end.
You've already done me a service,
Mr. Scratch continued.
I understand one of my operators has very recently broken contract.
Pill had almost forgotten about that, lost in the heat of the moment.
He will be found and punished in accordance with the agreements brokered in this land. That means a position within my troop has become available. It's yours if you want it.
Pill managed to force his question out. Why would I want to work here?
Because here you need never stop walking,
said Mr. Scratch.
Stay on the long road and your memories will never find you. The pain of your old life will never find you. Move through the wood, move from town to town, paint your tears over with a smile and bring joy to others. Let the torture of your old life subside and stay safe from the truth of what you really are and what you have done. That is what I offer you. You've already provided the payment.
I have? Pill rubbed his wrist nervously.
Your acceptance was guaranteed the moment you arrived here. You even deemed fit to make a position for yourself by exposing a crooked game.
A new quill appeared in Mr. Scratch's hand. Its feather was long and black like a raven's, but larger and warm to the touch. The contract appeared in his other hand, already written.
I've been waiting for you,
said Mr. Scratch.
But the choice is still yours and yours alone. Remember, I offer you escape from the forces that drove you here and release from the burdens of yesterday. All this in exchange for your service in the games.
But what if I want to remember who I am? Pill asked.
That decision is yours to make. I wouldn't recommend it.
For a moment, Pill thought he had almost seen something human in the face of Mr. Scratch. It was gone now, replaced with cold calculus. I'm going to help Chirp find his mom, said Pill, setting the quill down. He hadn't even noticed it jump into his hand.
The offer is an open one,
said Mr. Scratch. The contract was already cleared from the table, however, replaced with stacks of other paperwork that he had gone back to signing and shuffling about.
You'll find me again should you wish to accept, but be warned. The cold winds come at midnight, after the departure of the ferryman and his charges. Travel through these woods will become exceedingly difficult to those unaccustomed with their peculiarities. If you wish to leave with us, let it be soon, or it could be some time before you find your way to me again.
Pill finally managed to force his legs into movement, even as they threatened to buckle beneath him. He fought to keep his hands from shaking. "Thanks again for your time," he said, "but I'll be on my way now."
Time is a small thing to give, given its abundance,
said Mr. Scratch. He waved his hand dismissively.
"I'll be waiting should your way bring you back to me."
Without a word more, Pill backed out of the tent. Mr. Scratch didn't bother to look up from his stacks of papers and contracts. It was like Pill no longer existed to him, and he was consumed again by the depths of his work. The dark velvet curtain closed behind him, and the dark man with his dark offer vanished back into the flames. Chirp was waiting outside at the picnic tables, as told, sitting as far from the tent of Mr. Scratch as he could. He hugged Miss Fox tight. The forest air was clear and cool, with the crisp scent of apples and frying foods and other sweet delights all mingling together, brought to life by the sounds of music and children at play. It brought to contrast just how eerily silent and devoid of life the inside of the tent had been. "Is everything okay?" Chirp asked. He had procured a large plate of fries from somewhere and offered it to Pill. "Yeah," Pill lied. He waved away the food. "It's all worked out. I know where to find your mom." Somehow, with everything Mr. Scratch had known and said, he knew it was the truth. "But before that, I have to apologize." "Why?" said Chirp, leaping out of his seat in excitement. "You found my mom. Where is she?" "She's waiting over the river," said Pill. "We'll have to take a ferry, but that's not why I need to apologize." Chirp looked at him curiously. "I haven't been completely honest with you," said Pill. He took a deep breath. "See, the truth is that I was just as lost in the forest when you found me. I don't even know how I got there." "That's how people get lost," said Chirp, nodding. "You don't understand," said Pill. He lowered his voice and lowered his knees, meeting the boy eye to eye. "I don't remember anything from before I woke up in those woods. I don't know how I got there, where I was going, or where I'm supposed to be. I can't even remember my name." Chirp thought all of this over carefully, his eyes going wide at the possibilities before narrowing down to a single conclusion. "You're Pill," he decided. "You pulled me out of a river and you helped me through the woods. You won me Miss Fox, and now you're going to help me find my mom." He leaned over and hugged Pill around the shoulder. "You're a good person. I'm sorry you lost your memory." Pill couldn't meet him in the eye after that. He looked to the sun and pretended the wetness forming in his eyes was because the sky was too bright and open. Even if it was what he needed to hear, however, Pill wasn't sure he could ever believe he was a good person. How could that possibly be true? He was on the run from something, he understood now. Something had taken his memories from him, and now he knew that that something was him. What if he didn't want to remember? Would prying under that rock find him anything good? Or, like most things in the wood, would it reveal the hidden, slithering side of his own nature? "Thank you, Chirp," he finally managed to say, and for himself alone, he quietly added, "I hope you're right."